Right now, somewhere in the world, two people who deeply love each other are genuinely willing to risk their relationship over whether a hot dog is a sandwich.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the veins are popping.
Yeah, the rhetoric is just soaring. They are bringing like Supreme Court high stakes litigation energy right to the kitchen counter.
It is a totally remarkable human phenomenon.
Yeah,
We reserve our most passionate, gladiator-level debate skills for breakfast foods and household supplies.
we really do. Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today, we are exploring something completely universally relatable. For you listening right now, we are diving into a catalog of what we call cutesy fun arguments.
Right.
These are those, low stakes but highly passionate debates that you have with your partner, or your best friend, or your
The
roommate.
ones where nobody is actually angry.
Exactly. Nobody is objectively right or wrong. But, my goodness, the hill you are willing to die on.
We're going to decode these everyday battles because beneath the surface of arguing about, like, sandwich shapes, there was actually a really fascinating psychological mechanism at play.
Right.
These silly little arguments secretly reveal our deepest personality traits, our core values, and even the hidden dynamics of our closest relationships.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I guarantee that you, listening right now, have probably engaged in at least 3 of these debates this week alone.
Minimal.
Right. Let's start right on the domestic battleground. So basically, food and daily sanity. I mean, one of the most polarizing arguments of all time is the great cereal debate. Do you pour the milk first or the cereal first?
Oh, it's a classic divide.
Yeah.
It immediately splits the room. The cereal first camp is the statistical majority,
Mm-hmm.
and their logic is heavily structural.
Okay.
If you pour milk into an empty bowl, you create a puddle.
Mm-hmm.
You then have to carefully, like precariously float your cereal on top of it, trying to bury it without splashing everywhere.
Right. And to me, pouring the milk first is it's like trying to build a house by starting with the roof.
Yes.
You're just suspending the roof in midair and trying to shove the walls in underneath later. It is structural chaos. Why would anyone do that?
Well, the milk first camp has a very specific operational defense.
Which is?
They argue that pouring the milk first allows you to perfectly calibrate the liquid ratio. I mean, think about it. If you pour the cereal first, you are committing to a massive volume of dry goods before you even check the carton.
Oh, to see if you have enough milk to actually hydrate it?
Exactly.
Okay, that is a terrifying scenario. Just staring down a giant bowl of dry flakes with only like a tablespoon of milk left.
Exactly. So it's about risk mitigation versus structural integrity. And that same tension actually shows up in lunchtime geometry.
Oh, the sandwich cut.
Yes. Are you cutting diagonally into triangles or straight down the middle into rectangles?
See, I have to push back on the sandwich debate because the triangle cut gives you a longer diagonal edge to bite into.
It does.
It physically feels more satisfying, and frankly, it just looks more exciting on the plate. But the rectangle people, aren't they just prioritizing cold, hard equity?
Fairness.
Yeah. They want 2 perfectly fair, identical pieces. It feels like a battle between, aesthetic joy and rigid justice on a cutting board.
What's fascinating here is that these aren't just quirky, random preferences. They are micro attempts to optimize our daily existence.
Okay, how so?
Look at the other domestic arguments we see.
Why?
The toilet paper roll, over versus under. The over camp relies on the weight of history and logic.
Oh, right.
They will literally cite the original 1891 patent for the toilet paper roll, which clearly illustrates the paper going over the top.
Bringing an 1891 patent to a marital dispute feels like the ultimate mic drop.
It usually is.
Yeah.
But the undercamp isn't arguing from a place of aesthetics or history. They're arguing from a place of tactical defense.
Tactical defense against what?
Cats and toddlers.
Oh my God.
Right. Having the paper go under flush against the wall is a necessary physical barrier. If it goes over, a cat can unspool the entire roll with a single satisfying swipe.
But if it goes under, the swipe just spins the roll harmlessly.
Exactly. It's a genuine operational strategy for chaotic households.
That makes total sense. Or think about the eternal sleep temperature standoff.
Oh, the thermostat wars.
Yeah. Yes. One person firmly believes the bedroom should be 65 degrees Fahrenheit. The other needs it at 72 degrees. And there is literally no middle ground.
Not at all.
The cold person adds blankets. The warm person starts sweating and kicks the blankets off. The aggressive kicking wakes the cold person up. It's just a relentless cycle of nocturnal negotiations.
And if you look at the dishwasher debate, like, should the knives point up for maximum cleanliness or point down so you don't impale your hand when unloading?
Yeah.
You start to see the common thread. What's actually happening underneath all of these mundane arguments is
Yeah.
a baseline human need for control, safety, and order.
Oh, wow.
The outside world is chaotic and unpredictable. We cannot control the economy or the traffic or the weather, but we are constantly trying to construct a microenvironment in our kitchens and bedrooms that makes us feel secure.
Wow. So we're basically projecting our internal need for psychological safety onto our kitchen appliances and like breakfast foods.
We are. It's a coping mechanism dressed up as a preference.
That is wild. And it's funny how that need for control in our kitchens bleeds right into how we try to control our reality in general.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if we can't agree on sandwich geometry, it's no wonder we end up having existential crises over how we categorize the rest of the world. Which brings us to the philosophical stress tests of pop culture.
Here we go.
We have to talk about the hot dog. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
The ultimate taxonomic crisis of our time.
It really is. There's this concept called the cube rule of food, which is this unofficial but highly passionate way people try to categorize everything we eat.
Right, based on starch placement.
Yeah. Under the strict interpretation of the cube rule, a hot dog qualifies as a sandwich because it consists of a filling enclosed in a starch.
And there's always but the immediate counterargument is that the hot dog bun is hinged,
Right, it is not two separate pieces of bread.
which, structurally speaking, makes a hot dog a taco.
A taco, which just angers people even more.
It does. And then, when logic fails, people appeal to authority. The National Hot Dog and Sausage Council has officially decreed that a hot dog is not a sandwich,
Which is so funny.
though their absolute authority on this matter is heavily disputed by the sandwich purists.
I love that we are out here disputing the legal jurisdiction of the National Hot Dog Council, but we do this with language too, right?
Oh, constantly.
Like the famous GIF pronunciation debate. The inventor of the image format, Steve Wilhite, definitively stated on the record that it is pronounced GIF with a soft G, like the peanut butter.
He did.
Meanwhile, the hard G camp completely rejects his authority, pointing out that it stands for Graphics Interchange Format, and graphics starts with a hard G.
This raises a really important question about how we interact with information. These debates are what psychologists call stress tests for definitional reasoning.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. I have to push back on the soft G, the inventor named it argument.
Okay, let's hear it.
Just because an inventor creates something, do they own the cultural evolution of it forever? I mean, if millions of people look at GIF and intuitively say it with a hard G, doesn't language ultimately belong to the public using it rather than the creator?
And by taking that stance, you are categorizing yourself into a very specific psychological tribe.
Wait, really?
Yes, when you argue about the GIF, you aren't really arguing about a looping image file. You are revealing your fundamental worldview.
Oh, I see.
Are you a technical purist who believes in strict origins, creator rights, and rigid definitions? Or are you an intuitive pragmatist who believes in collective ownership, cultural evolution, and practical usage?
Okay, my mind is slightly blown right now. What about the is water wet debate? Because people will argue for hours over whether water itself is actually wet.
It's the exact same tribal division. By the strict technical scientific definition, wet refers to a solid object being coated in a liquid.
Right.
Since water is a liquid, it cannot be a solid coated in itself. Therefore, technically, water is not wet. It makes things wet.
Okay, but
Intuitively, human beings know that water molecules adhere to surfaces and to each other. When you touch it, you experience wetness. So, do you side with the cold scientific taxonomy or the undeniable human sensory experience?
it's just like that classic philosophical question, right?
Yeah.
If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Exactly. The no camp relies on Berkeleyan idealism.
Wait, Berkeleyan idealism, break that down for me. Are you saying the no camp literally believes reality disappears when we close our eyes?
Well, not quite disappears, but Berkeleyan idealism suggests that reality is entirely tied to perception. In this context, sound isn't a physical object.
Right.
It's a perceptual experience that requires a brain and an ear to process it. No perceiving ear, no sound, just silent vibrations.
But the yes camp relies on strict physics.
Exactly. Sound is a compression wave traveling through the air. It exists as a physical phenomenon completely independent of us. So the argument isn't about the tree at all.
It's about whether you prioritize the objective physical world or the subjective human experience. Precisely. It's amazing how a silly late-night debate over a hot dog taco or, like, a falling tree actually maps onto our most fundamental mental models of reality.
It really does.
And if categorizing our physical world reveals our mental models, then imagining totally impossible scenarios must reveal our deepest hidden desires.
The realm of the thought experiment. This is where things get incredibly diagnostic.
Let's talk about superpowers, the classic hypothetical. Would you rather have the power of flight or the power of invisibility?
A great one.
The flight people usually skew as optimists, they're adventurers. But the invisibility people, they are curious observers. They want to know what happens when no one is watching, which seems like it requires some deeper psychological unpacking.
It's a profound divide in human temperament.
Right.
I mean, do you want to rise above the world, break the bounds of gravity, and inevitably be seen by everyone?
Right.
Or do you want to shrink down, hide within the world, and safely observe others without the vulnerability of being perceived yourself?
Wow.
The choice between flight and invisibility is often a choice between a desire for freedom and a desire for absolute safety.
That is so true. And then there's the sci-fi commute choice. Teleportation versus time travel.
Right.
Teleportation feels highly practical. You're just trying to solve your daily commute, skip the airport lines, optimize your schedule.
It's a problem-solving choice.
Exactly. But time travel is incredibly romantic. It suggests a really complicated relationship with the present moment. I look at this and I think this is a debate between managing your calendar versus managing your regrets.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to put it.
Are time travelers just folks who are fundamentally unable to let go of the past?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your analogy of managing regrets is spot on. What we're looking at with these hypothetical questions are essentially Trojan horses.
Trojan horses, meaning they are sneaking something in.
Precisely. They are sneaking past our emotional defenses. Think about the classic lottery question. What would you do if you won $100 million?
Everyone has an answer for that.
Right, and on the surface, it's just a fun fantasy. But beneath the surface, it is safely extracting heavy, highly personal data about your worldview that would be incredibly awkward to ask directly.
Oh, like asking someone on a first date, hey, how much do you resent your siblings?
Exactly. You can't ask that.
Yeah.
But if you ask the lottery question, you find out immediately. It reveals their generosity thresholds.
Oh, who gets their mortgage paid off and who gets mysteriously left out of the windfall?
It uncovers deep-seated financial anxieties.
And there are always those highly suspicious people who confidently claim, oh, I'd keep working my accounting job because I'd be bored.
Which is a massive psychological tell.
Right.
It reveals that their entire identity is anchored to their labor, or that they have a deep fear of unstructured time and freedom.
Wow.
Or consider the diagnostic pop culture arguments. Which Hogwarts house do you belong in?
Oh, people get so mad about that.
This gets incredibly heated when someone is assigned to Hufflepuff by their partner, but they fiercely identify as a Ravenclaw. What you are actually debating is whether your identity is defined by your baseline, everyday temperament, or by your highest intellectual aspirations.
Or the debate over the correct order to watch Star Wars with a newcomer.
Oh, yes.
Do you do release order, chronological order, the machete order, which skips episode 1 entirely to preserve the Darth Vader twist? People carry massive, disproportionate emotional weight in that Star Wars debate.
Because it's a completely safe way to argue about how we process narrative, history, and nostalgia.
Yeah.
These grand hypothetical questions are brilliant tools. They let us safely reveal our vast inner worlds to our partners without anyone feeling like they're sitting under an interrogation lamp.
Okay, so these hypotheticals let us safely map out our inner worlds. But what happens when the argument isn't about a time machine or a lottery ticket or a lightsaber?
When it's closer to home.
Yeah, what happens when the debate is actually just about the relationship itself? Because this is where we get into the micro-arguments and the psychology of play.
The subtle interpersonal negotiations of everyday life. This is where the friction of cohabitation really lives.
It's like the absolute classic, who has to make the phone call?
Oh, I hate making the phone call.
Right. Both parties strongly prefer texting. But one person thinks a phone call is legally required for this specific situation, like canceling a reservation or calling a plumber.
And the other person.
The other person firmly believes that any task which can be accomplished by text must be accomplished by text, and that forcing someone to speak on the phone is a literal imposition on polite society.
Or the cohabitation heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
Who is more tired?
Oh, yes.
Both people have worked all day. Both are genuinely exhausted. Both have totally legitimate, peer-reviewed claims to being the most tired person in the room.
And let's not forget the agonizing cyclical loop of whose turn is it to pick the restaurant.
The worst.
It is the tyranny of, I don't know, wherever you want, followed by a relentless 45-minute series of vetoes.
How about sushi?
No, I had fish yesterday. Italian. Too heavy. So what does this all mean? When we are trapped in that endless restaurant debate, is that just a socially acceptable way to say to your partner, hey, I have massive decision fatigue today, my brain is empty, and I desperately need you to take care of me and take the wheel?
But we don't want to actually admit that vulnerability.
Exactly.
You've hit on the exact psychological mechanism.
Right.
It is entirely about decision fatigue and the fear of making the wrong choice and disappointing the other person.
Wow.
And that same brilliant subtext applies perfectly to the who is more tired argument.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
The secret to the who is more tired argument is that the goal is not resolution.
Wait, the goal isn't to win?
No, the goal is acknowledgement. I mean, think about how that argument actually ends. The moment one person stops detailing their own exhausting day and simply says to their partner, you know what, you're right, you seem really tired, I'm sorry.
The fight completely evaporates.
The tension vanishes instantly.
Oh.
Because it was never actually about proving a biological deficit of sleep. It was about wanting the person you love to see that you are struggling and to validate that struggle out loud.
That is so incredibly poignant. We just want to be seen. And understanding that subtext really explains another massive micro-argument. Clean versus tidy.
A vital distinction.
Right, because clean means sanitized. The counters are wiped with bleach, the floors are mopped, it is germ-free. But tidy means visually calm.
The mail is sorted, the shoes are put away.
Exactly, there is no clutter. Conflating these two things creates massive hidden domestic tension dressed up as mild annoyance.
It really does.
You aren't just arguing over a stack of mail on the counter. You are arguing over one person's need for visual calm versus another person's need for hygienic safety.
Which brings us to the ultimate why behind all of these debates.
Yeah.
Why do we love engaging in these cutesy, fun arguments so much? Why do we expend so much energy on them?
Yeah, why do we?
Psychologically, they serve several crucial functions. First, they are a powerful form of intimacy. You only argue playfully like this with people you implicitly trust.
That's passionately defending an absurd position, like the sandwich triangle cut or the milk first cereal strategy, to someone who knows you deeply is actually a profound form of vulnerability.
Because you're letting your guard down. You're allowing yourself to be goofy and irrational without the fear of being judged.
Exactly.
Which touches on something we really lose as we get older. It's a form of play. Adults do not get enough unstructured play.
No, we don't.
Fighting over whether a hot dog is a sandwich is just low-stakes cognitive exercise. It's mental sparring just for the joy of the sport.
Exactly. It keeps the mind sharp and the relationship dynamic. Furthermore, these repetitive arguments create shared lore.
Shared lore, like inside jokes.
Yes. When a couple or a friend group has the exact same heated argument about whether pineapple belongs on pizza for 5 years straight, they aren't failing to resolve a conflict. They are building a shared mythology.
Oh, I love that.
The argument itself has become a tradition, a cornerstone of their shared history.
A tradition that is entirely wonderfully safe. Because in a world full of genuinely difficult conflicts, financial stress, health scares, career instability, it is a profound psychological relief to argue passionately about cold pizza.
It really is.
You get all the adrenaline and the rhetorical thrill of a debate, but the stakes are absolute zero and the affection is permanent.
It acts as a relational sanctuary. You get the rush of cognitive engagement, but with a guaranteed safety net of unconditional love.
That's beautiful.
The absolute best QC fun arguments are the ones that go nowhere. The ones where you know exactly what the other person's going to say before they even open their mouth, and you just can't wait for them to say it anyway.
Because it's tangible evidence that someone knows you well enough to disagree with you about absolutely nothing and loves you anyway, maybe even because of it.
It is the ultimate relational luxury. To be known, to be disagreed with, and to be entirely safe.
So, to summarize our journey today for you listening, we have traveled from the structural integrity of a milk-first cereal bowl through the taxonomic crisis of a hinged hot dog bun into the deep psychological safety of arguing with someone who loves you no matter how you load a dishwasher.
It's quite a journey.
We've seen how these silly debates optimize our living spaces, define our realities, act as Trojan horses for our deepest values, and ultimately provide a much-needed playground for intimacy.
They are basically the linguistic equivalent of a playful shove on the shoulder.
That is the perfect way to put it. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over. Something that builds on all this, but is worth exploring on your own.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Think about the medium of these arguments. How does having these cutesy fun debates over a text message versus face-to-face change the dynamic?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Without the twinkle in the eye, without the playful tone of voice or the physical smile, does a harmless debate over sandwich geometry risk accidentally turning into a real, genuine conflict?
It absolutely could.
Right. So the next time you gear up to argue about pineapple on pizza, pay attention to the venue. Because while it's hilarious to bring supreme courtroom energy to your kitchen, you probably want to make sure the jury can actually see you smiling.
A very wise caution. Context and tone are everything when the stakes are supposedly zero.
They really are. So keep your hypotheticals wild, keep your pizza hot or cold, if that's your morning after magic, and keep those low-stakes arguments going. We'll catch you next time.